I do want to talk Tim Walz.
Okay.
Kamala Harris.
Sure, dude. That's the other thing that I forgot.
What is up with Kamala Harris being a communist? She's imposing rent control.
Commie Kamala.
And I believe part of her economic plan is first-time home buyers get like a $25,000 credit. It's like you are literally, that's the housing crisis all over again, you buffoons.
I don't believe that's what caused the housing crisis and the bubble in 08.
Different mechanism. It's the same thing of the government artificially increasing the demand for housing.
How much do you know about the 08 crisis? I don't want to mock you on this.
I watched. I don't. You can mock me.
No, I don't.
You can try. I watched Steve Carell's film.
Yeah. Okay. Same.
I saw naked Margot Robbie explain.
Great movie.
What did she explain? I wasn't really paying attention.
I don't remember. It's been years.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
But no. I mean, so with Kamala Harris, I mean, you know that the average price of a home in I think 2021 was $210,000, and now it's $400,000. So it's doubled.
Yeah.
In 2 years, or like 3 years.
Socialism's the answer.
Crazy. No, the answer is reasonable government intervention in the economy to stop predatory corporations from fucking over our country.
I got an idea. How about we reduce the regulation and red tape to build houses?
Well, so her plan also includes building, I think, 3-point-something million houses as well.
With the government's going to contract people to build houses, or
I think so. I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, that's communism.
Well, I mean, if you want to call it,
let's just get very specific.
Is Medicare communism?
Housing thing aside, rent control.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on here?
I think there's
for context. You and I both
we're renters. I think.
Well, I was going to say we're both not schizophrenics, and therefore are not operating under the insane delusion that rent control is anything but a horrific backwards economic policy that has never worked.
I would need to dive on the specifics of that a little bit deeper. If it's
schizo-effective, maybe.
If it's so there's a difference between trying to rent control at specific rates and then just anti-price gouging legislation. And there's a difference in terms of like, how is that going to affect the broader economy? How do you take externalities into account? Gouging. So I think that if BlackRock and all these companies are buying up houses by the tens of thousands and then artificially raising rent, also engaging with each other in illegal anti-competitive practices.
Sure. Look, nobody hates BlackRock more than I do.
To raise rent artificially, should the government take some steps to be like, hey, you can't do this? I think that's fine.
Look,
as long as they're reasonable steps.
Yeah. Now it becomes a question not of principle but of practice, because we can agree
to degree.
Well, not even degree, but just strategy in terms of like the government should break up monopolies in principle.
Yes, 100% antitrust.
If you have a weak ass, incompetent head of who would do that, the Department of Commerce or the
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Let's just say whoever the Department of Commerce, insert whoever.
Department of Houses.
If they're incompetent, they can't make a good legal case for why, which has happened. I believe. There was, I don't know the exact case. I think it was with Google. People have been wanting to divest Google search from like YouTube for a while, or any other parts of Google, like AdSense and all that, which I think is fair. If you're not a good lawyer and you can't make a good case, then you're incompetent. And just because you said you want to regulate, it doesn't matter. The question is how. It's in the mechanism and whatnot.
Yeah.
With the rent control. That's complete trash. That never works. It never has worked. Okay, price gouging. Here's more
anti-price gouging. And just for a quick pin in that, I can look into the rent control stuff, and then we can have a deeper conversation about that later.
What do you call yourself? A social democrat?
Yeah, sock dem sock, and in that bubble vaguely. I tend to just call myself a reasonable person and go issue by issue.
I will not call you the first thing that came to mind.
What? A centrist, an enlightened centrist?
One might say so. Price gouging.
Mm-hmm.
Margins for grocery stores are less than what they were in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that price gouging and not the fact that if you look at our money supply, it like went up 50% in the span of 2 years in the course of like American history? Half the dollars, this is not exactly the statistic, but the point is a significant number of dollars, or half or something like that, of US dollars have been printed in the last 5 years.
Okay. It's a lot.
So that's called inflation.
Yes.
So
yeah.
that's why prices have gone up, not because price gouging has occurred, because if price gouging occurred, the profit margins would have gone up.
Mm-hmm, which they have across the market broadly.
No, not in
with grocery stores. I don't know about grocery stores.
I'll tell you with absolute certainty, McKinsey did a report on this, and I only know this because I watch the All In podcast, Stay Educated on Business. And they pulled it up, and they showed the margins. Now, the argument is, well, they're faking it. It's like, okay, they could be cooking the books. I suppose that's a possibility. Enron did do that. You're getting a little conspiratorial at that point. But if margins for grocery stores have gone down, let's assume that's the case. Assume that's correct.
Okay.
How is that price gouging? And what possible government policy could Kamala put forward?
There's a simple way to do that math, and it's just what was the percent of like inflation we've had, and then what percent has the price gone up? And if the price has gone up more than inflation, and then they've raised prices independent of inflation.
I don't know, but do you know what the anti-price gouging measures are? Other than like fixing prices, which is just insane.
No, because I've been mining crypto all week, and I haven't looked into it when it dropped like 5 days ago. So
that's a good answer.
I have no idea, but what I will say on principle, so I have plans to deep dive the Harris-Walz policy platform and then talk about that later, because that's what I love is economics
right now.
But in principle, price control can be a good thing if it stops price gouging. Anti-price gouging is good.
If you can give me one, and I'm sure there'll be the gifted cognitive berserkers who will be able to provide a citation perhaps. But if anyone can cite any example where price controls have made a positive difference, I'd love to see it. I think, what's like, okay, well, there's inelastic demand versus elastic demand. I think there's things there, like with insulin or some shit. Like,
yeah, that's meaningful.
Fixed, there might be some case for it, but...
Yeah, well, so I'll tell you exactly the case that you just made is the answer to your question. In 2021, I think whatever year that Biden passed was it the IRA that included the provision that they were capping insulin costs out of pocket at like $200 a year. I forget the exact numbers, but they passed that. So now insulin is price capped. I think, was it $20 a month out of pocket? It was something along those lines.
Do you know Trump passed an executive order that capped insulin?
He didn't. I have deep dived this.
Whoa, so Theo Vaughn.
No, that exact point. I researched this 2 years ago.
Okay.
So there were 3 bills that Trump was going to pass that would have price capped insulin and a couple other drugs. And it was 3 specific executive orders. And
so not bills.
I think they were executive orders. Okay. Yes. I believe. And so Trump he parroted these things. He was like, oh, we're going to pass these. Oh, going to be amazing. So good. And then he met with big pharma lobbyists, walked out of that meeting and killed the EOs. They never passed.
So why did Theo Vaughn say you passed an executive order that capped insulin?
Because I think he's just misinformed and Trump is a compulsive liar.
Right. Clip that.
Yep.
Send it to...
I researched that years ago. Trump can't... Now, unless there was a separate instance later where Trump repassed those bills I don't know about, but that instance that was the most famous one, Trump met with pharma lobbyists and then killed them. So right. I don't believe that...
We'll await the fact checkers. We'll await the fact checkers.
The basic facts of this are Trump in mid-2020 did an executive order that basically encouraged pharmaceutical companies or who were dealing with Medicare to lower it down to $35 a month. It did lower prices for, at least probably some millions of seniors on Medicare. Good for Trump for doing that executive order. 2 thumbs up for him. Biden did it through the Inflation Reduction Act and made it mandatory for everybody, not just some seniors who voluntarily got a benefit from it. So that's the difference between what they're talking about here.
Okay. But no, I will say in general, I enjoy what I've seen so far of the Harris-Walz policy platform because Kamala has indicated she's going to keep many of the same people in that Biden had in, running things like labor. So our antitrust has been amazing. The strength that our unions have grown.
Antitrust? What's a major breakup of a corporate monopoly that's occurred in the Biden, even in the last 10 years?
They have strengthened unions incredibly at Amazon,
antitrust.
At Starbucks. With antitrust specifically, I know that they were fighting AT&T at this very long court case for several years.
Lost?
I don't remember.
So they're incompetent.
Well, what I think the broader point here is that the people that are there are strong antitrust people.
The broader point is that they
pushing in
tried
that
their
direction,
best.
right?
Remember when Joe Biden
I think that
said
whenever
that?
you put people in office who are like very
sure.
much
Fine. Do you remember
pro-labor
when Joe Biden
antitrust,
said
that's a
that?
good thing.
He was-
I don't remember.
There was
that.
it was like a 60 Minutes interview, and they're like, if you lose the election, what will you say? Or what will you tell people? It's like,
You asked him how he will feel in January if he has lost to Donald Trump and all that he has warned would happen came to pass. And this was his answer. He said, I'll feel as long as I gave it my all and did the best job I know I can do, that's what this is about.
I tried my best or something.
well, that's
the worst answer ever.
Yeah, that's old.
It's like
That's
the
old man
opposite-
boomer brain.
It's like the opposite. It's like the archetypal opposite of what any like hero in any movie says. Like, well, what happens if you don't defeat him? It's like, well, I'll die trying. It's like,
tried my best.
I tried my best, and I'll go home and retire on the beach. It's like
that's very
imbecile.
cringe. I'm glad Biden pulled out. But no, I think let me amend my statement then to say that I think that the people that they have put in are some of the most strong antitrust people that have ever been in our government since FDR.
Okay, well, if they break up some big tech monopolies, I would respect that a lot.
There are
more.
people in that ballpark. We've had many material gains of unions being strengthened. I just think that in general, their economic policy has been incredible. And so, Kamala has indicated that she's going to keep those people, put more people like that in. I know Walz has an amazing record with like things like free school lunches and free school breakfasts, things of that nature that just reallocate tax funds in principle towards paying for things that are necessities that people at the bottom need and can benefit from, which is the heart of, social democracy. So, which is, broadly speaking, what I support, as long as it's reasonable.
That's fair.
But I will deep dive their policy positions, and we can go into it later more if you want. I haven't done any of that research.
Why was Kamala Harris such a failed border czar?
I don't fucking know, dude. I heard there was some
Joe
border czar
Biden
stuff.
Allow the Remain in Mexico policy to expire?
I don't know.
Okay, you
I know that they're
so useless.
I know that there was an incredible piece of bipartisan anti-immigration legislation that would have closed our border.
Cruz said it was garbage.
Well, Ted Cruz is a fucking idiot.
Ted Cruz said it codified catch and release. Now, I don't know what that means exactly, but I would need to know exactly what he meant and whether or not that was a lie before I can tell you that bill was good or bad.
I would love, Paul, for us to have regular conversations where we can follow up after we can deep dive these policies and then talk about it later. I would be more than happy to do that.
Within the next 2 weeks, I go through this and I timestamp everything.
Nice.
So we'll do the fact check list.
Okay, we can go through.
All right.